If your groom finds you in this car, he won't live long enough to complain. For 3 seconds, I forgot how to breathe. I was still wearing my wedding dress, still holding one broken heel in my hand, still hearing Nathan's voice in my head from 10 minutes earlier. Once she signs after the ceremony, Carter becomes ours. Bellini gets the port. I get the marriage. Everybody wins. Everybody except me. I had run before the music started, past my aunt shouting my name, past the flower arrangements I had chosen 6 months ago, past the church doors, and into freezing Chicago rain without knowing where I was going. Nathan noticed quickly. Of course he did. By the time I reached the alley beside the Italian restaurant across the street, men in dark suits were already spilling onto the sidewalk behind me. I saw 3 black sedans waiting beneath the awning. The last one was unlocked. That was all the invitation panic needed. I climbed inside, slammed the door, and whispered, "Please, just drive." Silence. Then that voice. Low, controlled, almost amused. I slowly lifted my head. A man sat across from me in the shadows. Black suit, black coat, dark hair swept back from a face that looked too calm for the situation I had just dragged into his car. His eyes moved from my bare feet to the soaked hem of my wedding dress, then to the window behind me. He grinned, not warmly. "You picked the wrong car to hide in. Then unlock it." His gaze returned to mine. Outside, someone shouted, "Emily!" "Nathan!" My entire body tightened. The stranger noticed. His smile disappeared. "Your groom." I didn't answer. Nathan came closer with 2 men behind him. The stranger glanced through the tinted glass. "They're armed." My stomach dropped. Nathan had security at the wedding. I had told myself that was normal because his family was wealthy. Now I remembered how quickly those men had followed him outside. How none of them looked surprised that I had run. The stranger leaned forward slightly. "Do you want to go with him?" The question hit harder than it should have. Nobody had asked me what I wanted all day. Maybe all year. No, one word. Barely a whisper. But he heard it. Nathan reached the car and knocked hard against the window. The stranger pressed a button. The glass lowered 3 inches. "Emily." Nathan sounded relieved at first, then angry. "Get out of the car." I shrank back. The man across from me didn't move. Nathan bent closer. Then he saw him. Everything changed. The anger vanished from Nathan's face. His shoulders stiffened. Even the men behind him stopped moving. "Mr. Moretti," Nathan said. The name meant nothing to me. The fear did. Adrian Moretti tilted his head. "She stays." Nathan swallowed. "She's my fiancée." Adrian looked at me, not him. "She said no." The window rose. Just like that, the conversation was over. The car pulled away from the curb. For the first time since leaving the church, I let myself breathe. Then Adrian's phone vibrated. He read the message once. His expression hardened. "South Dock compromised," he said to the driver. "Change route. Call Marcus. Nobody moves freight until I know who leaked it." My relief vanished. A cream wedding card had fallen from my dress onto the seat. Adrian picked it up. His eyes stopped on my name. Emily Carter. He went completely still. Then he looked at me differently. Not like a runaway bride. Like a problem he had seen coming. "Carter," he said softly. My throat tightened. "Your father was Daniel Carter." "How do you know my father?" Adrian Moretti didn't answer. That frightened me more than if he had. Rain blurred Chicago into streaks of white and gold beyond the tinted windows, while the sedan cut through downtown. I watched Adrian from across the back seat, waiting for something, an explanation, a lie, anything. Instead, he looked at the driver. "Turn east." The driver checked the mirror. "Sir, the penthouse route changed." One word. No argument followed. Adrian lifted his phone. "Marcus." A pause. "South Dock is closed until I say otherwise. Change every convoy route scheduled before midnight." Another pause. "No. Nobody improvises." His eyes shifted briefly toward me. "Find out who knew the original route before 8 o'clock." He ended the call. My pulse climbed. "Bellini." His gaze returned to me. "What?" I heard Nathan say that name before I ran. For the first time, Adrian's attention sharpened completely. What exactly did he say? I hated how quickly the question came. Not "are you okay?" Not "what happened?" Information first. Always. He said Bellini gets the port. He gets the marriage. Something cold passed through Adrian's expression. Then it vanished. Anything else? "That Carter becomes theirs after I sign." The car slowed beneath an overpass. Another black sedan pulled alongside us. Adrian opened his door. "Move." I stared at him. "What?" We're changing cars. Why? Because somebody knew where my people would be tonight. The simplicity of his answer made my skin prickle. 2 minutes later, I was sitting in another sedan while the first disappeared in the opposite direction. This wasn't a rich man being cautious. This was a man whose life depended on assuming betrayal before loyalty. You think someone inside your organization told Bellini? I think facts before conclusions. Cold, precise, controlled. Exactly like him. We arrived at a private building overlooking the river. A woman with dark hair opened the penthouse door before we knocked. Her eyes moved from Adrian to my ruined wedding dress. Then back again. You brought home a bride? She brought herself. For the first time that night, I almost laughed. Almost. The woman held out a hand. Sophia Moretti. His sister. 20 minutes later, I had changed into borrowed clothes and washed the rain from my face. When I returned to the living room, Adrian was standing beside a table covered in photographs. Nathan, his father, men I didn't know. A photograph of a gray-haired man labeled Bellini. Then I saw myself, walking out of my community center. 2 weeks ago, my stomach turned. You knew who I was. Adrian didn't deny it. We were watching Nathan Cole. You were watching me. You were adjacent to him. The word cut deeper than it should have. Adjacent. Like I wasn't a person. Just a detail in somebody else's investigation. How long? 3 months. I stared at him. And you expect me to trust you? No, his answer came instantly. I asked if you wanted to go with Cole. You said no. That isn't the same thing. I know. Sophia placed a folder between us. Emily. Her voice was gentler. You need to see this. Inside were corporate records bearing my father's name. Daniel Carter. I shook my head. My father sold Carter Freight years ago. Adrian stepped closer. No, he turned one page. He transferred his voting rights into a trust. My mouth went dry. For who? Adrian looked directly at me. Sophia slid the final document across the table. There was one beneficiary. One name. Mine. Emily Carter. And beneath it, a signature I recognized instantly. My father's. Nathan didn't need to steal my inheritance. He needed me to give it away. Sophia's words left the room strangely quiet. She turned the trust agreement toward me and tapped one paragraph. If you remain unmarried, only you can restructure the voting rights. After marriage, certain transfers require spousal authorization. I stared at the legal language until the letters blurred. So Nathan marries me, then puts another document in front of you, Adrian said. His voice was calm. Too calm. A proxy authorization hidden inside whatever financial paperwork you expected to sign. I remembered Nathan insisting his family attorneys would handle everything after the wedding. I had called it thoughtful. Now I felt sick. And Bellini gets the port. Voting control, Adrian corrected. Enough to influence Carter Freight's lease at Calumet Harbor. I looked at him. You already knew this? I knew Bellini wanted Carter Freight, but not how they planned to get it. No, at least he didn't lie. That almost made it worse. I pushed the folder away. So what am I to you now? Adrian's expression didn't change. Leverage. The word landed like a slap. Sophia looked sharply at him. Adrian. What? I whispered. At least he finally said it. I stood. You're exactly like Nathan. That changed something in his eyes. Only slightly. Nathan lied to get your signature. And you kept information from me because it was useful. Yes. No apology. No excuse. Just truth sharp enough to hate. I headed toward the door. Adrian didn't stop me. His phone rang before I reached it. Marcus. Adrian listened for 6 seconds. Then the entire atmosphere changed. When? Another pause. Was anything taken? He crossed to the windows. Lock the yard down. Nobody leaves. Sophia stood. What happened? Adrian ended the call. Police hit our Archer storage yard 7 minutes after the transfer arrived. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence. He picked up another phone. Luca, suspend tonight's movements. Separate the route manifests. Nobody sees a complete schedule. I stayed near the door despite myself. Someone told them. Adrian looked at me. 4 people knew that shipment would be there tonight. Who? Me. Marcus. Luca. His gaze shifted to Sophia. And my sister. Sophia didn't flinch. That disturbed me almost as much as his accusation. You suspect your own family? I suspect access. That's not the same thing. No. Adrian began arranging documents into separate piles. His empire had just been breached, and somehow he became calmer. I understood then why Nathan had frozen beside that car. Adrian Moretti didn't react to danger. He reorganized it. My phone vibrated on the table. Nathan. Every muscle in my body tightened. Adrian glanced at the screen, but didn't touch it. Your decision. That surprised me. I answered. Emily. Nathan sounded exhausted. Thank God. Don't. You misunderstood what you heard. Did I misunderstand the proxy? Silence. Enough. Then Nathan laughed softly. You're with Moretti, aren't you? I looked at Adrian. Nathan continued. You think he rescued you? I think you tried to marry me for a shipping company. Then ask your new friend why he knew your name. My fingers tightened around the phone. He explained that. No. He explained why he watched me. A pause. Ask him what happened to Carter Freight the year your father nearly lost everything. Adrian went completely still. Nathan's voice lowered. He knew Daniel Carter long before tonight, Emily. I stared at Adrian. For once, the most controlled man in the room had no immediate answer. Nathan delivered the final blow. Ask Moretti why your father trusted a mafia boss enough to leave him a secret. Your father left me something I was never supposed to open unless Bellini came for you. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. Nathan was still speaking, but I ended the call. What did my father leave you? Adrian looked at Sophia. Get the Carter file. She disappeared down the hallway. I stepped closer to him. No more pieces. No more deciding what I'm allowed to know. You're right. That stopped me. Adrian Moretti didn't sound like a man accustomed to admitting that. My father knew you. He knew my family. Adrian poured himself water, not whiskey. 12 years ago, Carter Freight controlled warehouse access Bellini wanted. Your father refused them. What happened? They started stealing shipments and making it look like Carter employees were responsible. Insurance claims followed. Contracts disappeared. Banks started calling loans. I remembered that year. Dad selling our house. Mom crying quietly in the kitchen. I had been 14. You helped him. My father wanted the company. I wanted proof Bellini was behind the sabotage. You were 22. I started young. Of course he had. What did you do? I found the shell companies receiving the stolen freight. Daniel used the evidence to clear Carter. A memory surfaced. My father once telling me that survival sometimes depended on accepting help from people you would never invite to dinner. I had thought he meant bankers. Sophia returned carrying a narrow black case. Adrian placed it on the table. A faded envelope rested inside. My father's handwriting covered the front. For Moretti, only if they come back for Carter. My knees weakened. Why didn't you tell me? Because until tonight, the condition never happened. He pushed the envelope toward me. You open it. That mattered. More than I wanted it to. Inside were shipping manifests, invoices, container numbers, corporate registrations. My father had circled several payments in red. What am I looking at? Adrian leaned beside me without touching me. Bellini Shell Companies. One invoice carried a handwritten notation. MV. Adrian's eyes stopped there. I noticed. Who is MV? I don't know yet. His jaw tightened. Those initials appear on records tied to more than one intermediary from that period. Including someone you know? Possibly. That's not an answer. Because initials aren't proof. For a mafia boss, he was disturbingly disciplined about that distinction. I looked through the remaining pages. You really never opened this? No, you expect me to believe that. Your father gave one instruction. Adrian met my eyes. I kept it. Something inside me shifted. Not trust. Not yet. But the first crack in my certainty that every powerful man eventually took whatever he wanted. I folded the papers back together. Adrian didn't reach for them. Keep the original. I stared at him. This could hurt Bellini. Yes. And you're giving it to me? It belongs to you. Briefly, neither of us moved. Then a sharp electronic tone sliced through the penthouse. Sophia turned toward the security panel. Adrian was already reaching for his phone. What happened? Perimeter alert. Sophia's face lost color. 2 vehicles entered the underground garage using cloned resident credentials. Adrian's voice became ice. Lock the elevators. Kill building access. Move the staff through the service exit. He didn't reach for me. He commanded the entire building instead. Then he asked Sophia one question. Who knew Emily would remain here after the car transfer? She checked the encrypted destination log. The driver had only received the building address, and the lobby team had been told I was a temporary guest under Sophia's authority. Only 3 people had access to the final safe location assignment. Silence. I saw the answer before she spoke. 3 people. Adrian. Sophia. Marcus. Outside the penthouse door, Something heavy struck the emergency stairwell lock. Once, twice. Adrian looked at his sister, then at me, and I understood the real danger. Bellini hadn't found us. Someone inside Adrian Moretti's world had told them exactly where to look. If someone inside my family is betraying me, I'm going to give them exactly what they want. Adrian said it while two men tried to breach the stairwell. He didn't raise his voice. That was the frightening part. Sophia killed the penthouse lights. Security moved us through a concealed service corridor while Adrian stayed on his phone, issuing orders with surgical calm. No pursuit. Let them think we panicked. I stared at him. You're letting them leave? I'm letting them report. 20 minutes later, we were inside an underground garage 3 blocks away. Different car. Different driver. Nobody spoke until Adrian shut the door. 3 people knew that location, he said. Sophia. Marcus. Me. And you're obviously not investigating yourself. I already did. I couldn't tell if he was joking. He wasn't. By sunrise, Adrian had built his trap. He gave Sophia one destination. A lake house north of the city. Marcus received another. A West Loop apartment. Luca, his security chief, received an old warehouse address. 3 false locations. 3 different leaks. And where are we actually going? I asked. Nowhere they know exists. He took me to a converted office above a closed printing company. No staff. No digital security system. Nothing connected to Moretti databases. I watched him lock my father's documents inside a steel cabinet. You're testing your sister. I'm testing information. She's family. His eyes met mine. That doesn't make her harmless. Something about the answer made me sad for him. Do you know how exhausting you are? Yes. That almost made me smile. Almost. 3 hours later, Marcus called. Bellini men had entered the West Loop building. The address given only to him. I watched Adrian's face. Nothing. So Marcus is the traitor. No, I frowned. They went exactly where you told him. That proves the information traveled through his channel. Not that Marcus sent it. He ordered Luca to pull access logs. Minutes later, another problem appeared. Marcus's credentials had been used from a terminal across town, while Marcus was physically inside Moretti headquarters. Someone could be framing him. One answer. A bigger question. My phone buzzed. A video message. Nathan. I opened it before Adrian could say anything. Claire appeared on screen. My cousin. My closest remaining family. She sat in the library of the old Cole estate, frightened but unharmed. Nathan stepped into frame. Come sign what you should have signed last night, Emily. My blood went cold. Or Claire stays with us. I stood immediately. I'm going. No, Adrian said. I spun toward him. You don't decide that. You go alone. Cole gets your signature and keeps Claire anyway. You don't know that. I know men who build leverage. His voice softened by half a degree. I am one. I hated that he was right. Adrian spread a blank proxy package across the desk. We give him something he thinks he wants. Sophia could create a false authorization with a traceable filing code and a convincing surface watermark. She warned me that the watermark would survive a quick inspection but reveal a deliberate mismatch if Nathan tilted the paper beneath direct light or examined it closely. We did not need the forgery to survive forever. We only needed it to survive long enough for Claire to cross the room. Adrian would lock Cole's escape routes before the meeting. For the first time, he wasn't planning around me. He was planning with me. If I do this, I said, Claire comes first. Yes. And I decide when I sign. Yes. No surprises. Adrian held my gaze. No surprises. Then Sophia called. Her first words changed everything. Adrian, I checked the video metadata. He put her on speaker. The recording wasn't made this morning. My chest tightened. When? A pause. Yesterday afternoon. Before I overheard Nathan. Before I ran. Before I climbed into Adrian's car. Claire had already been taken. Nathan hadn't prepared for a wedding. He had prepared for what happened if I refused one. Nathan had kidnapped Claire before I ever ran from him. That truth changed everything. This wasn't a desperate groom trying to recover his bride. It was a plan. And I had been the only person at my wedding who didn't know I was already trapped. By 7 that evening, Adrian had turned the abandoned printing office into a command center. Maps covered one wall. 3 phones rested beside him. He never carried a weapon around pretending he was going to personally rescue Claire. He moved people, closed streets, changed exits, controlled information. Cole wants the exchange at his family's warehouse near the river, he said. I stared at the fake proxy Sophia had prepared. And I have to be there. Yes. No comforting lie. Adrian pointed to the document. You signed this. Nathan verifies the visible authorization number. Claire walks out before he discovers the filing code is worthless. And if he checks first, he won't. You sound certain. He needs you frightened. Frightened people rush. He'll assume you do too. I looked at him. And if I refuse? Then we find another way. That surprised me. You'd let me? His eyes hardened. Emily, if I force you into that building, I become another man deciding what your fear permits him to take. Something warm moved painfully beneath my ribs. I'll do it. At 9:14, I entered the coal warehouse. Nathan waited beneath a single row of industrial lights. Claire stood 20 feet behind him. Alive. Terrified. Emily. Nathan smiled like we had merely postponed dinner. I wanted to hit him. Instead, I remembered Adrian's instructions. Watch. Listen. Make him talk. Nathan placed the documents down. You could have made this easy. You mean married you. I mean protected your future. For Bellini? His smile disappeared. Behind him, Claire looked toward the loading doors. Nathan followed my eyes. Moretti can surround this building if he wants. It changes nothing. That was too confident. Why? Nathan leaned closer. Because in 72 hours, Moretti won't control enough of Chicago to matter. My heartbeat stumbled. He explained because arrogance wanted an audience. Carter Freight controlled legal access to 2 harbor routes Moretti depended on. Bellini would take the voting proxy. At the same time, someone inside Moretti would expose the organization's private routes. Legal access gone. Hidden access compromised. A coordinated collapse. The marriage had never been the prize. It was one blade and a pair of scissors. I signed. Nathan examined the authorization code. Then he nodded. Claire was released. She crossed the floor toward me. 10 steps. 5. 2. Nathan turned the document toward the hanging industrial light as he stepped back. The paper caught the glare. His eyes narrowed at the watermark Sophia had warned me about. He tilted it once, then again. His face changed. The watermark. My blood froze. The quick inspection had bought us seconds. Not enough. He knew. A loading door slammed open. Everything moved at once. Moretti vehicles blocked the eastern exit. Cole's men scattered toward the west. I grabbed Claire and dropped behind a concrete divider. Adrian's operation tightened around the warehouse. But Nathan escaped. Not through luck. Through a service corridor that should have been sealed. Later, inside the car, Adrian received the security report. One perimeter camera had gone dark. Exactly 43 seconds. Who had override access? I asked. Adrian didn't answer immediately. Marcus. My stomach tightened. Only Marcus. His silence told me enough. Sophia too. Then I noticed Nathan's phone wedged beneath the concrete divider beside my shoe. He must have dropped it when the loading door slammed open. The screen was locked, but a notification preview still glowed across it from an encrypted contact saved as a single letter. V. Sophia's technicians later recovered the cached notification history without needing Nathan's passcode. One message had been received the previous night, 3 minutes after I climbed into Adrian's car. The bride is with Moretti. Move phase 2. I showed Adrian the recovered record. His face became perfectly still. Someone inside his organization hadn't discovered me later. They had known almost immediately, which meant the traitor had been close enough to see the wrong bride enter the wrong car. The traitor wasn't hiding somewhere inside Adrian's empire. He was standing beside the throne. Adrian replayed the timestamp twice. 3 minutes after I entered his car. No guessing. No anger. Just calculation. Who coordinated your convoy that night? I asked. Marcus. The answer came quietly. I remembered the initials in my father's file. MV. The West Loop leak. The disabled camera. Each clue had meant something alone. Together, they formed a name. Then arrest him. No, I stared at Adrian. He knows we're suspicious. If I move now, I get Marcus. His eyes darkened. I want everyone Marcus answers to. By midnight, Adrian had created one final lie. He told Marcus that my father's original file and I would be moved through a private airfield at 2 in the morning. Only Marcus received that information. Then Adrian waited. 27 minutes later, an encrypted transmission left Marcus's private terminal. Airfield. 2 a.m. Carter file moving with the girl. Adrian read it once. Now we have proof. Marcus was brought into the Moretti conference room at 12:46. He entered calmly, almost smiling. You wanted me? Adrian placed the intercepted message on the table. Marcus stopped. Silence stretched between two men who had apparently trusted each other for 10 years. Then Marcus laughed. You finally learned. Why? No shouting. No threats. Just one word. Marcus looked at him. Your father. 12 years earlier, Adrian's father had needed someone to absorb responsibility for a federal investigation. Marcus's father had been loyal. Too loyal. He went to prison for the Moretus. Marcus said. Your father promised 18 months. His jaw tightened. He died there 6 years later. Adrian said nothing. You inherited everything, Marcus continued. I inherited his grave. So you chose Bellini. I used Bellini. That distinction mattered. Marcus wanted both families weakened. Bellini would destroy Moretti's routes. Adrian would retaliate. When both organizations bled enough, Marcus planned to take what remained. Then he looked at me. You were never supposed to matter. My skin went cold. The wedding was supposed to happen. Cole gets Carter. Bellini gets the harbor. Adrian loses his legal routes before he realizes his private ones are compromised. But I ran. You climbed into the one car that forced everyone to move early. The wrong car. One panicked decision had cracked their timetable. Marcus smiled faintly at Adrian. Then you kept her close. Adrian's expression hardened. And suddenly, Marcus said, the man who trusts nobody had something everyone could use against him. A fire alarm screamed. Adrian didn't turn. Marcus did. That was enough. Smoke flooded the corridor, exactly the kind of security diversion Marcus would have prepared before walking into a room he might not leave. One of Adrian's guards shifted toward the emergency door. Adrian lifted 2 fingers. Hold. I looked at him, confused. Marcus disappeared into the smoke. Adrian waited 5 seconds before speaking. Tracker active? Luca touched his earpiece. Moving south. Only then did I understand. Adrian had expected Marcus to build himself an escape route. He had let him keep it. No blind chase, Adrian said. Give him distance. Quietly. I stared at him. You wanted him to run. His eyes stayed on the tracking feed. I want everyone he runs to. I looked at the operation map. You're planning around me again. His eyes met mine. You're not bait. Then stop treating me like a piece you move without asking. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Adrian did something I hadn't expected. He turned the entire map toward me. Routes. Names. Safe locations. Everything. Fine. Not partial information. Not protection disguised as control. Trust. The tracker stopped moving near one address, and my eyes found the same location on Adrian's map. My breath caught. I knew it. I had stood there wearing white less than 48 hours ago. St. Catherine's Church. The place where I was supposed to marry Nathan. Marcus wasn't running away. He was going back to where this started. The church where I was supposed to become Nathan's wife was where Adrian planned to destroy everything Nathan had built. By dawn, I understood why Marcus had chosen it. Not sentiment. Strategy. St. Catherine's basement connected to an old service tunnel running beneath 2 warehouse blocks toward the river. Bellini had used the route years ago. Marcus knew Adrian would recognize its value. He wanted him there. Adrian knew that too, which was why he refused to give Marcus the battle he expected. Bellini thinks we're bringing your father's file through the front, Adrian said. And we aren't. No, Sophia already had encrypted copies moving through 3 attorneys. For weeks, those attorneys had been assembling the Bellini records into sealed complaints and emergency preservation requests. My father's file supplied the missing links between the shell companies and Nathan's proxy scheme. If Adrian failed to cancel the release before noon, the completed packages would go to federal investigators and financial institutions already prepared to preserve the named accounts. Every move had a consequence prepared behind it. Adrian looked at me. You leave with Sophia now. I stared at him. No, Emily. Is that what you want? His jaw tightened. No, then why tell me to go? For several seconds, the coldest man I had ever met looked almost tired. Because wanting you here isn't the same as having the right to keep you here. That silenced me. 2 days earlier, he had called me leverage. Now he was giving me an exit when keeping me close would make his plan easier. I'm staying. His eyes narrowed. Why? Because the proxy is mine to revoke. Not bravery. Not romance. My responsibility. My choice. At 10:17, Bellini's attorney entered the church basement with Nathan. Marcus followed. I stood beside Sophia at a folding table where my wedding reception supplies had been stored 48 hours earlier. Nathan actually smiled. You came back. Not for you. He presented the proxy. Sophia checked her watch. Now, Emily. I signed the revocation. Nathan's smile vanished. Sophia transmitted it immediately. The Carter voting authorization died before Bellini could register control. Then Adrian stepped from the shadows. Marcus froze. You followed me. No, Adrian said. I followed your ambition. Phones began vibrating around the room. Emergency preservation orders were being executed against several Bellini-linked accounts, while the shell company records were landing with investigators who had already been briefed by Sophia's attorneys. Outside, Moretti crews closed the service tunnel, not to attack, but to prevent evidence from disappearing. Marcus looked toward the Bellini captains. That was Adrian's real strike. He had sent each man proof that Marcus planned to sacrifice Bellini after Moretti fell. The room changed. Loyalty cracked without a shot. You used me, Marcus whispered. Adrian's expression remained empty. You taught me where to look. Nathan moved toward the tunnel. Nobody followed him. Bellini no longer needed a groom whose proxy was worthless. He turned back toward me, desperation finally breaking through the polished face I had almost married. Emily, you think this makes you free? Carter Freight will drown without someone powerful beside it. 3 days earlier, that sentence might have frightened me. Now it sounded small. Then it drowns because of my decisions, I said. Not yours. Nathan reached for the tunnel door. Moretti men stopped him at the exit. Adrian didn't touch him. Financial conspiracy. Coercion. Kidnapping. He glanced toward Sophia. Cole will have enough problems without becoming a martyr. Marcus was different. Adrian stripped his authority before everyone. Accounts frozen. Contacts exposed. His network severed. The empire Marcus planned to inherit disappeared in minutes. By noon, it was over. Not cleanly. Not painlessly. But logically. Bellini had lost the harbor play. Nathan had lost me. Marcus had lost the system he betrayed. Outside the church, Adrian handed me my father's original file. I searched his face. You made copies? Of the Bellini evidence. Not the trust documents. You're giving everything back? It was never mine. The same man who controlled half the city placed the only leverage he had over me into my hands. No condition. No bargain. No demand. What do you want in return? Adrian looked at me for a long moment. Then he said the one answer I had never expected from a mafia boss. Nothing. 3 months later, the same black car was waiting for me outside work. This time, I wasn't running. I stopped beneath the awning of the community center and stared through the evening rain. Same polished sedan. Same dark windows. Same impossible memory. But I wasn't wearing a wedding dress anymore. Cole Consortium was under federal investigation. Nathan was awaiting trial on charges tied to Claire's kidnapping, coercion, and the proxy conspiracy. Bellini had lost its harbor play and withdrawn from 2 major Chicago routes. Marcus Vale's network had collapsed with him. And Adrian Moretti? Adrian was still Adrian Moretti. He hadn't abandoned his empire. He hadn't suddenly become harmless because he cared about me. If anything, the betrayal had made him more precise. He rebuilt his inner circle so no single person could access complete route intelligence. Sophia controlled the legal companies. Operations were compartmentalized. Adrian remained the man other powerful men lowered their voices around. The difference was that I no longer confused power with ownership. I had kept Carter Freight independent. Adrian never asked me to sell. Never requested a favor. Never mentioned the debt everyone else assumed I owed him. For 3 months, we did something far stranger than surviving together. We learned each other. Slowly. Honestly. Coffee after my late shifts became dinners where Adrian left his phones face down unless the city was actually burning. He showed up once at the community center with donated computers and refused to put the Moretti name on them. I attended one of Sophia's charity events and watched Adrian spend 20 minutes pretending not to notice that I was the only person in the room who could make him laugh. We argued about Carter Freight, about his instinct to protect by withholding information, about my instinct to mistake independence for never needing anyone. He never asked me to enter his world. I never asked him to leave it. We simply kept choosing another conversation, another dinner, another honest answer. The rear door opened. Adrian stepped onto the sidewalk. Dark suit. Steel watch. That thin scar beside his right temple catching the streetlight. He looked exactly like the man I had found in the shadows that night. Except I knew what his silences meant now. Need a ride? I folded my arms. Is this still the wrong car? There it was. That small grin. The one that had terrified me when I was barefoot, soaked, and desperate. Depends. He opened the door. Are you hiding? I looked past him into the back seat. For 1 second, I could see myself there again. 26. Terrified. Wedding dress, soaked with rainwater. One broken heel clenched in my hand. Begging a stranger to drive. I had spent years making choices because they kept other people comfortable. Nathan had understood that. He had built an entire marriage around it. Adrian had understood something harder. A choice made under control wasn't really a choice. No, I said. I'm not hiding. I stepped closer, but didn't enter yet. Adrian waited. That mattered. He always waited now. I spent most of my life choosing whatever kept everyone else happy. His expression softened almost invisibly. And I touched the open car door. This one's mine. Then I got inside. By choice. Adrian joined me. The door closed, shutting out the rain. For several blocks, neither of us spoke. Chicago moved beyond the windows in gold reflections and wet pavement. His city. His dangerous, complicated world. I turned toward him. You know something? What? You were wrong that night. His eyebrow lifted. About. The car. That grin returned. You did choose the wrong car. No, I shook my head. I chose the right car for the wrong reason. Silence. Then his hand moved across the seat. Not grabbing. Not claiming. Simply waiting between us. I looked at it. Then placed mine in his. I had climbed into Adrian Moretti's car because I was running from a man who wanted my name, my signature, and my future. 3 months later, I climbed into it again because Adrian wanted none of those things unless I chose to give them. He ruled the city by controlling every move. But he learned to love me by leaving one choice entirely mine.